Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming on board for this webinar. I hope all of you are staying safe during these challenging days of coronavirus. Let's discuss about the responsibilities of different parties involved in LCL dangerous goods shipments. Accidents can happen at any time during the consignment, whether it is during packing of the container or when the container is on board ships. Last 2 years, there have been many cases of major fires happening on board various ships at various locations, some of which has been total disaster for the vessel, total loss of the vessel and the cargo. Like in this case of this car carrier plus container vessel, which sank in North Atlantic a year ago after explosion and fire. One of the reasons, one of the major reasons which cause these type of incidents and accidents out at sea is either misdeclared or undeclared dangerous goods or poorly packed dangerous goods. As all of you know, that International Maritime Organization publishes the IMDG code and other relevant regulations for transport of cargo by sea. Member countries of International Maritime Organization do conduct random inspection on dangerous goods containers. This is the summary of casualty and other incidents happened 2 years ago. In this, you can see more than 50% non-compliance for inspected containers, or the containers of inspected post accidents are missing or wrong placarding or marking on the containers. Then storage and securing cargo inside the container is a major chunk. Similarly, dangerous goods declaration, marking and labeling of packaging, serious structural deficiencies to the containers, and segregation of cargo inside the container. These are the major issues noticed. So in this scenario, let us look at when shipments of dangerous goods are offered to the carrier through LCL shipments, who is responsible for what. In the old days, most of the shipping lines used to accept dangerous goods LCL shipments, but these days hardly any shipping line accepts. There are freight forwarders, NVOCs or LCL operators are there who does the groupage of cargoes and offer to the shipping line as FCL. So let's go step by step. There are two codes which is very important for the transport of cargo by container. One is IMDG code for dangerous goods, which is a mandatory regulation. And another is CTU code. CTU means cargo transport unit. Cargo transport unit can be a freight container, like a normal dry box, open top, flat track, or a reefer container, or a rail wagon, or a road vehicle, which all of them are cargo transport unit. CTU code is non-mandatory. This is for handling and packing of cargo transport unit for transportation by sea and land. CTU code is published by International Maritime Organization, International Labour Organization, and United Nations Economic Commission for Europe. Mandatory regulation for dangerous goods is IMDG code published by International Maritime Organization. Objective of IMDG code is for enhancing safety of life at sea and protection of marine environment. Objective of CTU code is to promote safety of people, cargo, vehicles, vessels, drivers, dock workers, crew members, or whoever comes in contact with the cargo, whether the correct way of packing can reduce the possibility of injury to people and damage to cargo and the mode of transports. Now, the major difference in LCL and FCL dangerous goods is, in FCL dangerous goods, it is one shipper and his or her goods. In LCL dangerous goods container, there are more than one shipper's dangerous goods packed into a container. An LCL operator will group all the shippers' dangerous goods and offer the same as FCL to the carrier. Now, in this, when we distribute the responsibilities, when shipper is making his own packaging, that is say factory stuffing, irrespective of how many number of dangerous goods is being loaded into the box, shipper is responsible for classification, packaging, marking and labeling of packages, segregation of different dangerous goods, marking and placarding of the container, fumigation marking, dangerous goods declaration, and also container packing certificate. But if n number of shippers are offering to an LCL operator, and LCL operator is grouping all the cargoes into a box, then LCL operator is responsible only for segregation to packing certificate. So this is how the legal responsibilities are divided into both the parties. So first, let's look at what are the basic responsibilities in classification. Classification is the assignment of 4-digit UN number, proper shipping name, and when applicable, packing group and technical name. Shipper is responsible for classification, and relevant countries' competent authority will become responsible for certain self-reactive substances, organic peroxides, and class 1 explosives for classification. All other cargoes, shipper is responsible for classification. Packaging, again, shipper is responsible for selecting the authorized packaging. Packaging is authorized by IMDG code and maximum quantity per package. Competent authority is responsible for packaging only for certain cases wherein IMDG code states the package must be approved by competent authority. Marking and labeling, that is writing the or displaying the proper shipping name, UN number, and the hazardous labels, the diamond shaped labels on the packages, that is shipper's responsibility. Segregation. Segregation is a interesting topic. It's a quite large topic actually. Segregation is separating mutually incompatible cargo when more than one dangerous goods is being packed into the same container. In the factory stuffing, shipper is responsible for segregation. Similarly, FCL dock stuffing, that is if they a freight forwarder or a container freight station is stuffing on behalf of shipper, even if it is FCL, shipper and packer will jointly hold the responsibility for segregation. If it is LCL cargo, then only the packer, that is the LCL operator, is responsible for the dangerous goods segregation, because when more than one shipper is involved, shippers will not know who are other shippers, what cargo they are offering, and they will not hold any responsibility for segregation. Segregation is a process wherein the packer has to decide, according to the IMDG code rules, when two or more dangerous goods are being loaded, whether they are mutually compatible or not. The compatibility regulations or the guidelines of IMDG code is, if two of the cargoes come in contact with each other because of the package leakage or breakage, in case if there is a dangerous reaction between the cargoes, then it is mutually incompatible. Similarly, if two cargoes do not dangerously react with each other, but when involved in fire by like burning together, if they increase the hazard of fire, then also it is considered as mutually incompatible. Like these two cargoes, whether they are compatible or not, that is up to the packer to decide whether cargoes loaded into the box is mutually compatible or not. Now, these incompatibilities can result in major or disastrous reaction of the chemicals or the dangerous goods. Like in case, say, acids and alkalis or any other non-compatible chemicals, two different packages, if the packages break and when they come in contact with each other, may result in releasing corrosive substances, asphyxiant toxic gases, considerable or excessive heat, fire, and explosion. This is just an example of what can go wrong if acids and alkalis, acids and base, if they come in contact with each other. Reaction between acid and base can release considerable amount of heat, toxic vapors, fire, and explosion. Similarly, if cyanides come in contact with acid, will release hydrogen cyanide, which is highly toxic and flammable gas, resulting in fire and explosion, depending on the amount of cargo and the concentration of the acid, etc. Similarly, certain non-hazardous, non-dangerous organic substances, when they come in contact with oxidizing substances, may result in explosion and fire. So it is a packer of the container, whoever packs the cargo inside the box, is responsible for taking necessary steps not to load incompatible cargoes inside the chain box. There is a segregation table in part 7 of IMDG code, which has listed all the classes 1 to 9 vertically and horizontally, and the intersecting columns reads what is the segregation rules. This table is not for the segregation inside the container, but for different dangerous goods packages directly loaded on board ship, non-containerized packages loading on ship. But when it comes to the loading of different dangerous goods into the same container, the same segregation table is used or can be used, which says what can be loaded, what cannot be loaded. Subsequent, when we refer to other provisions of the same chapter in part 7 of IMDG code. There are 3 steps for checking segregation. One is to refer general segregation provisions and exempt limited and accepted quantities and other exemptions. Then check what is written in column 16B of the dangerous goods list, apply that, then finally come to the segregation table. When we say these 3 steps, it is quite easy, but actually checking segregation takes long time because there are too many permutations and combinations. Steps for checking segregation includes use of segregation table. There are 18 segregation groups like acids, ammonium compounds, bromides, chlorates, chlorides, etc. up to alkalis, 18 groups. Then 78 segregation codes. There are different segregation provisions and exemptions, and a separate segregation rules for class 1 explosives. So generally, shippers do not mix load class 1 with any other cargo, but it can happen. But different class 1s in a container, there is a separate segregation rule. Now, when we look at this example, like one container being offered with petrol and a fire extinguisher, say a couple of drums of petrol and couple of fire extinguishers, say CO2, carbon dioxide fire extinguisher, these are the labels, and another container offered with petrol and safety matches. Some of us may think that petrol and fire extinguisher is a safer container to accept. But as per IMDG code, petrol and fire extinguisher is together prohibited in the same container. But petrol plus safety matches is permitted in the same container. So this is a good example for all of us that not to use our common sense, but we must follow IMDG code and its provisions for all applicable rules, primarily and importantly, most importantly for segregation. Apart from dangerous goods, other goods like non-hazardous cargo may be loaded together with dangerous goods. That also may result in segregation rules. Now, this is a small chart which says what non-hazardous cargo is compatible or not compatible with dangerous goods. Foodstuff. Foodstuff means anything which can be consumed by animals and human beings, like animal fodder and the food items, rice, grains, or pulses for humans. Foodstuff must not be loaded with class 2.3 toxic gases, 6.1 toxic solid and liquids, 6.2 infectious, class 7 radioactive, and class 8 corrosive substances. Foodstuff may be loaded with distance of 3 meters with 6.1, that is toxic and corrosive packing group 3. Similarly, corrosive packing group 2 may be loaded with foodstuff with a minimum distance of 3 meters. This distance inside the container may be filled with other cargo or kept blank by blocking and brazing. Similarly, combustible materials like wood chips or wood powder or any cartons, empty cartons, whatever combustible, anything which can burn, must not be loaded together with class 5.1, especially liquid, because if they come in contact with each other, it may start fire. Similarly, organic substances will dangerously react with certain class 5.1, especially with hypochlorite. So a packer who packs cargo into the container, when there is dangerous and non-dangerous, the packer must ensure that this will not result in dangerous reactions en route in case if the dangerous goods and non-dangerous goods come in contact with each other. Now, packer's responsibility, when the container, like whether it is a container freight station or whether even if it is in the factory, when the empty container is released by the line and comes to the packer, it is packer's responsibility to inspect the container to see whether it is clean, dry, and fit for receiving the cargo, whether it is dangerous or non-dangerous. Like supposing there was a case in Port of Sandos, I believe in 2013 or 14, when it started raining, one of the container which was packed with bleaching powder, the rainwater entered the container because that container had a mechanical damage on the roof, and the rainwater dangerously reacted with the bleaching powder, resulted in explosion and fire. Subsequently, the fire spread on to other dangerous and non-dangerous containers in Port of Sandos, and Sandos port was shut down for 3 days, 3 or 4 days, whatever. And hundreds of people living in and near around the port had to be hospitalized because of exposure to toxic fumes. Now, in this case, the container operator who released a container with a hole on the roof is not responsible, but the shipper who accepted the damaged container for packing his or her cargo. So it is a packer's responsibility to inspect and ensure the container is fit for the cargo which is about to be loaded into it. Similarly, if the dangerous goods involved is class 1 explosives, then the packer must ensure the container is structurally serviceable container. This excludes for class 1.4 explosives, all other explosives. Ensure the packer must ensure non-compatible dangerous goods, that is, whichever requiring segregation, is not loaded into the same container. All packages loaded in the container is sound packages. Damaged packages must never be loaded into the container. All drums must be kept upright, that is, drums bound towards the top. Drum must not be kept on the sideways, which is called drums on the roll. That is prohibited for dangerous goods. And proper packing of the cargo, including securing inside the container, envisaging the what motion the container may experience during the sea journey. Bulk cargo, in case if it is a bulk container wherein solid cargo is directly filled into the 20-foot container without any package, the weight of the cargo must be evenly distributed throughout the floor of the container. So the container has the balance on the weight. All dangerous goods packages are marked and labeled, and container is placarded. The packer must ensure that. And any irrelevant marks, labels, and placards has to be removed. Like some of the container, when it comes from the carrier, old placard may be still lying there on the affixed or remaining on the container's exterior surface. So the packer must ensure that all old and irrelevant labels and placards are removed. Only the relevant labels for the cargo currently being packed is displayed on the container. In case if the packer is fumigating the container or using carbon dioxide, solid carbon dioxide for cooling purpose, the fumigant warning sign or the asphyxiant warning sign must be affixed on the doors of the container. And packer, LCL shipment, packer must ensure that for every consignment of each shipper, dangerous goods declaration is received and it is properly filled. When non-dangerous and dangerous is loaded in the same container, packer should try to keep the dangerous goods towards the door end of the container. This is for emergency response people, whether at shore or at sea, the vessel staff, for easy access without any delay to the dangerous goods packages. Drums must not be kept on roll. All marks and placards must be affixed on the container, and it must be durable for surviving 3 months immersion in seawater. Then comes the dangerous goods declaration. On the right-hand side bottom, shipper has to sign the dangerous goods declaration. In LCL shipment, the packer has to sign on the left-hand side for box number 20. So supposing if there are 5 dangerous goods, 5 shippers dangerous goods in one container, there will be 5 dangerous goods declaration. Each declaration the shipper will sign on the right-hand side, and every dangerous goods declaration, the container vehicle packing certificate has to be signed by the LCL operator. This is the rule but most of you who is listening to this know actually what happens in the industry. When it comes to the carrier's responsibility, there are two conventions under which IMDG code is mandatory. That is Safety of Life at Sea Convention, SOLAS Convention, and MARPOL Convention for Prevention of Marine Pollution. SOLAS Chapter 4, Chapter 7, Part A, Regulation 2, 3, and Regulation 3, and MARPOL Annex 3, Regulation 2, says that vessel must not accept any dangerous goods or harmful substances unless in accordance with IMDG code. So on behalf of the master of the vessel, shipping lines, that is say CMA, CGM, Hapag-Lloyd, One Line, Maersk Line, whichever line, they have dangerous goods departments who will vet every shipment through the information shipper has declared through dangerous goods declaration, the UN number, proper shipping name, flashpoint, technical name, size and type of packages, through which wayports it is going. They will accept for loading. Then the stowage planner will plan, and it will be agreed by the master and mate of the vessel. They will take into consideration of the dangerous goods kept towards the living quarters of the ship, sources of ignition on board ship, sources of heat on board ship, whether the cargo can be kept under deck or only on deck. Now, storage of dangerous goods on board ship. There is on deck only and on deck or under deck provisions in IMDG code. There are two types of container vessel. One is container vessel with full cargo holds. This red vessel with the yellow containers you can see. So this all below portion is under deck area. So if a cargo is on deck only, it cannot be loaded here. But there are some ships, now also it is there, I believe, couple of ships, which is called hatchless container ships. They have a different segregation rule. So there are different segregation rules for container ship, hatchless container ships, ro-ro vessels, general cargo ships, and barge carriers. Also, if it is an open top or say fabric side or not a closed container, then again the segregation rules on board ship can change. The packer is supposed to be actually trained for packing the container. Why training is important? Because most of the people who are involved in packing the container are working ashore, and they do not realize or they do not have an understanding what happens to the container when the container is placed on board a ship and the ship is sailing. Out at sea, it can be very violent with the weather, waves, currents, wind, and all those things. So there are three different sea areas depending on the height of the wave, A, B, and C, how much maximum wave height can be and how it will affect the motion of the vessel and subsequently affecting the containers and the cargo on board ship or cargo packed within. So depending on the sea area which the cargo will be going through, extra precaution or extra caution has to be taken while selecting the lashing and choking material about their strength. Now, this is one of the issues with badly packed container. Distribution of the payload has to be so homogeneously distributed that all four corner posts will take the weight equally. Now, when we talk about the declaration of the cargo, whether dangerous goods or non-dangerous goods, or when we talk about VGM, it is VGM stands for verified gross mass, and IMDG code always talks about dangerous goods gross mass. Mass will not change, but weight can change due to the acceleration during the sea passage. So the packer has to envisage through which area of the sea the container will be going and what will be the climatic conditions there, and ensure the goods are packed and secured in the container with adequate strength of the securing and lashing equipments. These are some of the images of damage happened because of poorly packed container. This left-hand side image is because of lack of longitudinal securing when the driver applies sudden brake. Dangerous goods drums fallen down and cause spillage. Broken intermediate bulk containers. Cargo not secured at the door end of the container. So when the door is opened, boxes fell down. It can injure the person who opens the door. Longitudinal shock and stress on rail journeys. It can damage the pallets. It can break the pallets and packages. Condensation damages. The dangerous and non-dangerous cargoes and packages do experience condensation damages. Like in India now, it is summer, and like a place Mumbai is very humid. So if we pack a 20 or 40-foot container here today and close the door, we are trapping the humid air inside. When the container goes to North Europe, when it cools down, the humidity will turn into dew on the ceiling of the container and on the walls of the container and start dripping down, affecting the packages. In case if it is a non-hazardous cargo, it will be like, writing off the packages or cargo and loss of the cargo. But if it is a water reactive dangerous goods, then this condensation damage may result in fire or explosion. These are some of the images of condensation damages. Sorry, you can see the left hand side image wherein the cartons are collapsed because of condensation. Leather goods, fungus has grown, steel rolls, corrosion, etc. These cartons collapse if it is dangerous goods packages and the dangerous goods escape from the package because of the damage to the package. It may result in exposure to toxic corrosive substances to the people or fire. This is just a quick reminder to who is responsible for what in LCL and FCL shipment. Shipper, packer, of course, lastly, it is a carrier. Carrier will look at only at the stowage on board ship and segregation of one container to another to on board ship. Rest falls on the shoulders of shippers and packers. They must be trained in these duties to ensure the compliance is met with. Dangerous goods declaration, whoever deals with dangerous goods, if you look at that, there are two declarations. One is of shipper's declaration and one is of packer's declaration. Packer says, I hereby declare that the goods described above is whatever dangerous goods, have been packed, loaded into the container identified above in accordance with applicable provisions. These applicable provisions are again further referred back to chapter 5.4 of IMDG code, which talks about CTU code. Now, CTU code is published in 2014. Before that, it was it is like an appendix in the supplement of IMDG code, like cargo securing guide. And finally, it became a CTU code. It is still non-mandatory. Most of the shippers and packers are still not aware about CTU code, or they do not have access to CTU code, even though it is freely available to download. It is a very important code, even though it is non-mandatory, because it is for the safety of the unloaders, whoever come in contact with the container or cargo, also for protection of the cargo. Most of the insurance clubs, when in their annual or whatever reports, they say that 1 in 3 containers experience some sort of cargo damage. How cargo damage happens? Because it is poorly packed or condensation damage, probability of condensation was there, but the enough measures for absorbing the moisture had not been placed. Shipper's responsibility, as we said before, is for classification, proper shipping name, package, marking, labeling, and if shipper is the packer himself or herself, then placarding the container for all international, that is IMDG code, and national governmental regulation through which his or her cargo will be in transit or will be unpacked. A packer, whether it is an LCL operator or factory stuffing shipper himself or herself, packer is supposed to receive these elements of training as per IMDG code, that is documentation, dangerous goods declaration, hazard classes, marking and labeling and of packages, placarding of container, segregation of cargo, cargo securing requirement as mentioned in CTU code, emergency response procedures for attending any emergency of spill, fire, or exposure, for medical first aid for exposure during package, and CSC requirement, that is Convention of Safe Convention for Containers, that requirements for inspect the container, whether the container is fit and ready to accept the said cargo. So this is in nutshell the responsibilities between packer and shipper. I will conclude my speech here.